Hello there, televiewers. Hope that you're having a great weekend. Well, thank you very much for joining us again on this edition of The Diary. Now, today's subjects are hard to introduce, and that's because they touch on sensitive themes and they concern very vulnerable persons. Today's subjects, I am hoping, will get your emotions involved. I know for sure that they will get your emotions involved and maybe touch a heart or two and get people to change. I'm just going to put it out there. Today, we have a two-part theme on The Diary. We are discussing first, child rape, and then fatal love. When I talk about fatal love, I'm referring to partners killing their spouses because of love. So that's what we'll discuss in today's edition of The Diary. Don't go away. You meet my guest right after this. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching The Diary on STV, and today we have a two-part themed show. We'll begin with child rape, and then we'll continue to fatal love. It's time for you to meet those who are going to be developing these very important subjects on today's edition. Let me start with the person sitting closest to me, Clarisse Ndinge. She's a media personality. She's the host of the talk show Beta Topo, which is on YouTube. You should go check it out. She's also the CEO of Beta Media, the founder of Beta Girls, which of course is an organization, and a blogger who runs Beta Things. Everything about you is better. Hello, Clarisse. Yes. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here on The Diary.
Right. The other lady on set with us this afternoon is Dr. Anita Nguti. Of course, you know her on The Diary. She heads the Hygiene and Sanitation Unit at the Mbopi Baptist Hospital. Doc, yeah. Always good to have you on The Diary.
Same here. I'm always happy to be here.
And someone who is returning after a while, after taking part in several movie productions. He has some time to be with us on The Diary. Tata Tony Alex, who is a movie producer, director, an actor, an all-round businessman. Hello, Tony. Good to have you back.
Thank you very much, Mumah. It's a pleasure being here today.
Right. So, let's get into our discussion for today. I said we are talking about two subjects. It's the first time I'm doing a two-part show, actually, to talk about two different subjects. I had a difficult time choosing between the two because it seems we have a problem in those two domains everywhere, especially in Cameroon. Now, we'll begin with child rape. I've been going through social media, and I'm sure you all have, and I noticed that there are growing and increasing stories of children, very young, who get raped, who get violated. The one that shocked me the most was something I read just 2 days ago of a 3-month-old baby who was raped by a 27-year-old man, a grown-up who raped a 3-month-old baby. Now, I'm going to start with you, Clarisse. When you hear stories like this, when you see pictures like those that we see on social media about grown-up adults raping kids, babies, infants, how does that make you feel?
It's very sad. Like, I mean, I a lot of times I'm not even able to see the pictures or the videos, especially when people send them. I cannot watch it because it's very traumatizing, you know, to just see. And a lot of times these babies die after they are raped. You know, it's just sad. Like, people who don't have a chance, these babies or these children don't have a chance to live normal lives because of some people who feel like they have the right to do whatever they think they should do, like to satisfy pleasures that are very, very unnatural. You know, it's so sad. I can't even explain how sad it is. Like, I really cannot deal, especially as a mother, as a person. You know, you see people's lives being completely destroyed because that child, even if the child makes it alive, the child can never be the same again. You know, it's a trauma that, you know, the child will have to heal from or just deal with throughout their lives. So it's just ridiculous and sad.
Right. And Dr. Anita, sometimes it's even closer to you because you have to deal with some of these victims, so let me call them survivors. They're rape survivors who come to the hospital needing medical help because of the violent experience that they have been forced to have. So how does it make you feel?
It's something that I don't know. I don't even want to cry because it's terrible. Like, you say survivors, there are some that don't survive. There are some that we only discover Like, I will use an example of a baby that I received, a very young baby, just about 9 months, 11 months old baby that came. The baby came and the baby had an infection, and the infection, we were struggling to treat it.
Yeah.
And we could not, because in babies, the ages, they tell us like which bacteria this baby is prone to naturally. Like newborn babies are more prone to Escherichia coli, this one that they can get from their mother, which is something that we expect. Children that are at this age of 11 months, they are exposed to this particular kind of bacteria, which is something we expect if their lives are normal. So we're targeting those bacteria and treating, and the baby kept on having high fevers until the baby finally died. And it's when we were packing the baby that the nurse noticed that the vagina was completely open.
Hey.
On checking the anus was completely open. So I was like, so in that situation, we were not, probably that child had a sexually transmitted illness, maybe chlamydia, gonorrhea, that had infected the whole. We could not even target those bacteria because we could not imagine that this child could have this kind of things. Those are things that we see in big people. If a young girl of 20 comes in, I can start thinking that, okay, you can be sexually active, and it's something that the person did it. But that young baby, so it's something that is, even the mother was in denial. She could not even believe it. She could not even accept it. And I didn't even want to burden her with accepting it at that point, because she's faced with her baby already dead. But so it's something that it really needs to change. Something really needs to be done. I don't know.
Tony, you're a parent, you're a father too, and I imagine that you're not indifferent when you hear stories like this one.
You know, as like she rightly said, it's really very terrible to have understood that you hear cases of people, 3 months old child. I really do ask myself if the people who do these things are really on their normal senses, or it's actually something that pushed them, because I would not imagine how a man would get up, you know, and then rape such a child. You know, it's really terrible that at some point, to be honest with you, it's really alarming. I don't know what to say.
I know. I listened to you recount the story of the 9-month-old baby, and I don't know what to say. We are speechless. But apparently, not everyone is as shocked as we are, because if everyone were, then we would not be talking about this every day. We will not be going back to cases of young children who these kids are helpless. They can't defend themselves, and some animals, that's what I'll call them, take advantage of that and violate them. Another sad thing about child rape is that you go on social media, Clarisse, you and I were talking about this before the show started, and you see people, I don't know what to call them, rape apologists or whatever, defenders, whoever they are, who always find a way of throwing the blame on the victim, on the young girl, on the woman, or even the baby who gets raped. They always find an excuse and throw the blame on the victim. It's nauseating to think about it, Clarisse.
Yeah, it's so sad. Like, people, I don't know. The thing is, I think we have to do something about changing people's mentalities about rape, you know, because it has to do with what they believe. Because if you go on social media and you hear that a 3-month-old, a 9-month-old baby was raped, and you're saying that, or a 2-year-old, you say, oh, why was the child running around in her pants? Like, how is a 3-year-old or a 3-month-old child supposed to dress? You know, some people say, oh, she's wearing a short skirt. What was the baby do? Like, how can you even excuse that kind of attitude? So I think, at this point with rape, I think we have to, besides, you know, trying to change, I don't know, trying to sensitize people for their mentalities to change. I think another thing we should do is to enforce the rape laws. Like, people that do these things, what do they do to them? Because maybe if the law on rapists is enforced, like if there are strict laws, or if there are, you know, very, very severe laws on rapists, I think rapists are going to change. Like if you know that if I rape a child, they are going to hang me, for example, or they are going to shoot me, or they are going to, I don't know, whatever they do in this, you know, when they want to deal with people. If you know that this is what awaits you, and it's going to actually, like if you're caught and this is what happened to you, I think it's going to change people's mentalities, because people usually get scared. Like for example, if you want to steal meat in the pot, you'll be afraid that if my mother catches me, she will beat me. So that fear of she will beat me will make you not to steal the meat. So I think that if people are aware of the consequences, because in Cameroon, for example, we hardly hear of somebody who raped and got caught and got tried and sentenced. If we start hearing, like if these people actually start being dealt with, if the law actually enforces this, I think it's going to change, it's going to reduce the rates at which it happens.
Yeah, Tony, you want to add something?
Yeah, I was actually coming to what she said, because when she said something, look at the society where we come from, especially in Africa. The girl child is always the one who carries the shame at the end of the day for being a victim of rape. And at times it's really very painful. But these people who commit these crimes, they live within us. They move around us and people see them every day. But you realize it's a girl child who carries that pain throughout her life. And that's why you realize that most of these girls who are raped, they don't grow up to be even better housewives, because they live with the trauma within them. And at times we live to call them names, whereas we forget the fact that they are these people. Like she was saying, it's actually because we need to call a spade a spade. It's because we live in a society where there are no laws. It's not as if the laws are not there. All these laws are written down and they are not enforced. We live in a society that money does everything, even to the detriment of the innocent. Because you cannot imagine that you will see, for a case, for example, they will rape your child, you carry that child over, you take the child forward, they will move from morning till evening, at the end of the day you realize that you are the one spending even behind that child, paying money from this person to this person. At the end of the day, what happens? The victim will go and pay some few francs CFA, and he or she is left to move freely. How will the person not go and commit the same crime tomorrow? If it was like in there are countries that the laws binding the woman, for example, is at the top more than that of a man, because they know that the women are so much exposed to these dangers.
Vulnerable.
They are most vulnerable, and these laws, they keep it very well. But to take it for our society, for example, in our society, Cameroon, is not the case. Normally the authorities need to do something, because it's like we have sold our conscience to the devil, that we think money can be able to do anything. And you see the victims, they suffer and cry every day, day in, day out. So it's really terrible, Mumah.
It is so bad. It's like the kid is not safe anywhere. At home, they get raped. In school,
they are raped.
Anywhere the kid goes, the kid is exposed. And you two have pointed something that is really very important. The laws and the fact that perpetrators go scot-free. Dr. Anita, what I've heard most of the times is, you read about these cases, you hear the stories, and everybody is shocked, everybody is scandalized. Next thing you hear is, let's do an amicable, let's find an amicable solution. We'll go and handle it at home. Even when the person is locked up.
It's a family thing.
Let's find a solution outside the law. This is ridiculous, Dr. Anita. I mean, for someone who sees the real consequences of rape.
I think it's really ridiculous. I think the greatest thing is that when we are faced with problems in Africa or in Cameroon, we don't really think about it. Think about how much some of these rape cases even is like a vicious cycle. It's probably somebody that was raped also, that survived, and then that decided to rape another person. That's one trend. It can be a vicious cycle. So most of the times we don't go to the root. To solve a problem, there always has to be this root cause analysis. Go to where it came from. It's not about solving it amicably to cover shame or to all those kind of things. It will never change it. Like that same child will be raped again the second time. And if a child is raped the first time and the child comes for, nothing is done. The second time the child comes from nothing is done. I don't think the third time that child will come
out
from.
again.
Yeah, the child will just be there and probably go through a terrible childhood, go through a terrible life. So I think that most rapists, there is always, I think they have a mental problem.
Yeah,
I agree.
Normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not humans.
Yes, they should be taken and sent to somewhere and
mental
rehabilitated
institution or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if they just allow them to roam around there, it's like keeping lions among humans. It's just not acceptable. I don't think it's
like she rightly said, there are certain one of the things is that with us, like we said, we bury everything and we bury, and the illness keeps on going underground until it keeps on taking generations. One of the stuff is we don't ask our questions, like he's saying, what are the issues, those things that can be able, that are likely going to expose people to rape? What are the things that makes the men, because when you look at it, most of the rape cases are always, it's a man who is always raping a woman. I can say 90% of it.
Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a man raping. The question is, do the society look at what are the causes of these things that make men to rape women? You have talked about there might be mental stuff which maybe may go alongside with it, but I think some of them have just taken it as pleasure.
Exactly.
There are some of them who has it as pleasure, that they find every little girl. The question I do ask is, how do you sit and see a 50-year-old man, let's just say 30 years, raping a child of 1 year or 2 years?
A 3 month old.
Then what does it mean your emotions are so loose?
Like the doctor said, right, this vicious circle of a thing. One, you talked about majority of the rape victims being women, but there's something that we don't understand, we neglect, which is the fact that boys are raped. And the truth is, the thing is, women are more vulnerable, women speak out more, but men are raped, and the thing is, they don't speak out. Like there was one time I made a post on Twitter and I was talking about boys being raped, and I had a couple of my friends, you know, people like me who said, oh, I was raped by the house girl, there's this my neighbor who raped me when I was in nursery school. You know, boys go through these things, but they don't even have platforms to talk, because since women are like the most exposed, women have a lot of platforms. Like, okay, there are many organizations that cater to these things. So girls have platforms to talk. Men don't even have platforms to talk. So people think that they are not victims of these things, but boys are victims as well. You know, so I think that one way that we can stop this is parenting, because it's from a young age. If you don't teach your children sexual education from a young age. When people talk about sexual education, people start thinking, oh, why should I tell my child about sex? There are different ways to teach sexual education to children depending on their ages. If a child starts talking, you tell the child that, see, if somebody touches you here, you shout, you call for me, you come and tell me. Make the child to be aware that there are parts of your body that nobody is supposed to touch. So when it happens, the child will want to talk about it. But if you don't tell the child might not even, start thinking that it's a normal thing. Like, some of these useless videos that you see trending, you see a child doing some abnormal things. It's because the child has maybe been taught, everything you teach a child is an innocent person. She doesn't know, he doesn't know anything. So if you tell the child that, okay, every day you get up, you should shout, the child will get up every day and shouting, not knowing that it's not normal. So sex, I think it has to do with parenting. We should teach sexual education to our children from the house. When your child starts talking, tell the child that this part, they should not touch it. If they touch it, come and tell me. When the child reaches another age, you start being different. When the child is like 16, 17, 18, you start telling the child that, see, if you want to have a boyfriend, come and show me the boy first. Or if they want to sleep with you, use condom. You start, the level of education changes with the age. It evolves, but it has to be done. And I think it's from that we can start, protecting children. Because you cannot be with a child every day. You can be in the house, you don't know what's going on, the mother, father. Some of them are even uncles, aunties, fathers, mothers, So if that child does not know that this is wrong, this is right, the child might not know how to speak up. So I think we have a role to play as parents in educating our children.
I wanted to add to what she's saying. One of the things, take for example, Douala, one of the things like she's saying, this act of the parents taking care of the children is really very important. Especially like a town like Douala. There are some parents, I can tell you that they don't spend time with their kids. At 6 o'clock, she's off for work. She's coming back very late, maybe around 7. Maybe the children must have been sleeping by then. You are leaving very early. And these children with certain times, sometimes you see them moving around in the quarters naked. And the parents do say, no, it's a child, it's a child. It is not every man, because like we were saying, like we call them, some of these men, they behave like dogs. That means everything they see naked, they really want to have sex with. And they realize that these children are so much exposed. And talking about, like she actually said, we talked about these parents discussing sex with their children. There are some of these parents who do not do them. And then there are some of these children too, who somebody rapes them without them knowing that they are being raped. Because sometimes they watch TVs in the absence of their parents. Their parents, that's why somebody said when you take these TV channels, you need to look at some of them. You select the channels that are good for your kids, and you put them. When you are away, these children there, they watch some of these things. And when they see a man now touching them, what happens is they feel it very normal.
Because they've seen it on TV.
They have seen it on TV. And then they feel it's normal. And before the child knows, the child has been raped. At times, they don't even go to tell their parents. And another thing is letting the children, taking children of a certain age, asking their brothers to bet them or those type of things. I think the parents should take care of those issues too. Because you actually see a child of 12 years, 11 years who is being bet by brothers could really rape their sisters too. It happens.
But we cannot be too careful with that, because a father too can be beating the child, and the father can also rape it.
And that is what happens. That's what I'm saying.
But I don't think that it's not justified. Like, I mean, how careful can you be? You understand? Because if we're talking about not letting your brother or your sister to beat your child, it means that you're saying that nobody should feed your child. It means that you're saying that nobody should come and visit your child. It means that nobody should walk the child. No. You cannot be too careful with this.
We mean at a certain age, right? The children should be taught how to be done those things by themselves.
Right.
Take for example, because for you, right, it's normal that they could do so, but it's not everyone who might be so conscious of what we're saying.
Right. Now, before we continue, I was going to add this. I was reading that 93% of victims under 18 who are raped usually know their abusers, which means that it could be their father, it could be their mother,
uncles, friends.
it could be their uncles, it could be their brother or their sister. In this case, the real question is, what is one to do to protect the child? Because if a little girl, for example, lives with her father alone, and the father is violating that child, the person who is going to protect that little girl is not the father, because the father is the abuser. So who protects the child at the end of the day? Dr. Anita, I know it's a big question. We don't really have answers to, but just reflect at the end of the day, who protects that little innocent baby?
I would say that I want to talk a bit about parenting, as she said. It's sad because there are some times when one of the parents is the abuser. And in those cases, they really need to be handled, like those parents need to be handled. I really enjoy the fact that in some countries they have like social workers that really function well. They have a number you can call. Yes, if you're not taking care of your child well, they take your child to somebody that can take care of your child well. It goes back to our principles, personal principles, and also how much you value the upbringing of your child. Like we talk about, like, so what does it mean that this person cannot do this person cannot do that? The truth is, at a certain point, like most of the time, the child will grow up, will be with the mother than the father. And the father, first of all, is a person that is taking care of the family. So it's to ask ourselves, like mothers, are you ready to go the extra mile to ensure that this your child is properly brought up? Are you ready to even, because there are sometimes I'm a medical doctor, say I have a career and all that, but there are sometimes that us as women, we have carried the career and we have valued it more than the things that are actually valuable. Like for when I heard one time that a young boy stabbed the teacher, I didn't look at that young boy. I looked at the parents, because they are the ones. If you've trained your child in a way that the child knows that retaliation is okay, to express anger it's okay, because we start it from very little. Like when a child, you beat another person beats the child, you do and hit that person in front of the child. So the child is already learning retaliation from there. Like, okay, so if somebody does something bad to me, I do something bad to the person, and it goes quietly and it's growing. So most of these things is what we have allowed in our society. So it boils down to what we have allowed in our homes, what we have permitted. You see some kind of ridiculous videos on YouTube, mothers putting their girl child to be dancing and twerking or doing some kind of things. What are you really showing? And even if you're doing that to your female child, what are you doing to the male child? What are you really teaching? So the matter really boils down to us. What have we allowed in our society? And so we need to really take it serious. Like even if it comes to a point, I've made up my mind that even if it comes to a point that I'll keep this job aside and face my children so that I can bring them up right. There are people who succeed in bringing up their children right. Why not everybody? So it's something that is possible. It's not something that is impossible, something that cannot be done. And most of the times we look at those women that give up maybe their jobs or give up something very valuable to them to focus on their children as this is you, what do you know? Well, the money that we spent on you. But one useless child can cause havoc to the entire country. So one useless child can become a terrorist for the entire country and cause like let's say the crisis. One person can cause that a country will just be on strike and everything. So it really boils down to what is at stake.
I wondered, when you look at it, is one of the things is that there's no effective communication between the parents and the children at times. Because there are some of these children that you only know they are home when you hear them shouting at the child. Like, oh, you have done this one, you have done that one. There's no time they sit to talk with these children to know how they feel, what they're going through, which means that the child could be raped, and because of the attitude of the parents toward the child, the child is unable to even profess the person who did rape him or her. You understand? At a certain point, it depends. We really need to talk with our kids.
Tony, I'm sorry to cut in. I agree with everything that's been said so far. But in the case of a 3-month-old who is raped, how does the 3-month-old tell their mother, their father that they've been raped? In that case,
now the question I want to be asking is for a 3-month-old, where was the mother at the scene that the child was being
what
raped?
if the baby is raped by the father?
That's what the question I'm asking.
What if the baby is raped by the father? The mother trusts the father enough to handle his own daughter too.
I think
his brother or something.
At the end of the day, we cannot blame the mother, but then there's a responsibility that a mother also has. Like there's vigilance that should be, you should be vigilant. I think if you are married to a man, you should have men surprise and disgrace us. But if you are married to a man, you should know a man. No men disgrace us. It's true. You know somebody that they do something and you're like, what is this? But I think that we should be vigilant at the end of the day. As a parent, as a mother, you should be vigilant. And sometimes these children that are victims, they speak out, like they express themselves. There's some babies that when they see somebody, they run away. You don't ask yourself, what's the child running away from this person? So those little things, I think we should just be, at the end of the day, and God, we should pray, because people are just evil.
Sometimes it doesn't matter what you do. Sometimes even when you are the best parent in the world, the kid still comes out something else. Now, this is ridiculous what I want to say now, but I still want to put it out here. I was reading somewhere, and a 50-year-old rapist who was caught, this is not in Cameroon, it happened in India, and he claimed he was raping a 9-year-old. And he claimed that the 9-year-old was in love with him, and that he had not forced the little girl into any sexual relations, but that there was consent. Like I said,
consent.
But like I said, it's ridiculous. I'm going to ask, however, it's my job as a journalist, right? In this kind of situation, or is it even possible for us to talk about any kind of consent whatsoever when it comes to sexual activity with a child? We are responding for the benefit of those who might not be thinking straight, who might be doubting. Let's try to answer this question, Clarisse.
First of all, how can a 9-year-old consent to sex? What does a 9-year-old know about sex? You know, that's why in countries we have minors and we have, you know, majors. A minor is somebody who cannot think for him or herself. Yeah. That's why they have people that, you know, take care of them. They have mothers, fathers, and all of that, or guardians. So you cannot be a 50-year-old man and you take advantage, because that's taking advantage. Even when you sleep with a 50-year-old and you're 27, it's taking advantage. If that girl's parents decide that, okay, we want to, you know, get to the root of this, you are in trouble, because that child is a minor, you know, except the child really comes and says, oh. So it doesn't make any sense for you, an old man who is 50 years old, to be saying that a 9-year-old child consented to having sex with you. You took advantage of the child, simply.
It's just terrible.
In our society, in Cameroon, it takes other forms.
Yeah.
A man, a rapist, gives maybe 100 francs. The little kid gives them biscuit, gives them candy. The kid loves candy, so the kid gets raped. But the kid goes back because she likes candy, or she likes the 500 or 200 a man is giving her. That is a problem that we need to talk about, Dr. Anita. It's a problem in our society.
I just want to say something about that Indian guy. Like a 50-year-old and a 9-year-old is in love with you. Wait, let's just assume that that child was actually in love. Like, she was stupid and she did something like that. As a 50-year-old, what is your responsibility?
Also,
are you not to beat that child and say, shut up? What are you saying? Do you know what love is? Go on, where is your mother? Put the mother down and say that, hear what your daughter is saying. Is that not what you are supposed to do as a 50-year-old? If you thought that you were vulnerable, it's looking like it's that 9-year-old that raped that guy. That's how it's trying to present it. So it's just terrible. It's just something that it's not even something to be heard. Like if somebody says that before the person wants to finish, you should slap the person first. They stay quiet. Shouldn't say that kind of a thing. And this issue of calling by, that's like the frequent, that's how it goes. Yeah. Yes. Like you have an old man in the quarter, and it's usually like some of these old people that maybe their wives have run away from them, they don't have any children, and they're in their houses alone. Please, I think that those are the highest people that we should really watch out for, because we had a situation of one man that's what he was doing to all the girls in the quarter, until people had to gather and send him out of the quarter. Because what he does, he will call you and then does all those things. So you leave, you don't even know that you have been raped. Yeah. It's just after that maybe your mother can notice something, or the child is maybe not walking normally, and you call the child and I want to look, and you are seeing that there's something that is happening there. And there are some of those children that it was only when another child spoke up that she had the courage now to speak. Because she kept on, she sat quiet. So she came to my consultation room. I even tried everything. She said nothing. It was only when one other person spoke up. Now she knew that, okay, it's safe to talk. So there's a lot of threatening. So we should really be vigilant. These boys also in the quarter. Somebody put a video and say, watch Tonton. These boys that they'll just get up in the morning bed and they're walking up and down. Yeah. Just tell your children that if they greet you, you just start running. Yes, because those are some of the people. I don't even know how we'll do this thing. Yeah,
I just think at the end of the day now, it's effective communication, like you said. Like parents should make sure that they should create an environment where their children can speak to them. If anything happens to your child, the first person that your child should think about talking to should be you. Yes. Make your child comfortable to tell you everything, so that if anything happens, they should be comfortable. That's the only way that we can protect children, because if a child cannot speak, there's nothing you can do, because you will not even know sometimes, you know. So I just think that parents should create that environment, make it possible. Don't make certain conversations. Don't make certain conversations taboo. Like if don't make sexual conversations taboo with your children. Like create an environment where you and your child can laugh about these things, and she can tell you something or he can tell you something. Because these days it's not only girls, as I'm really trying to make it clear. True. It's not only girls that get raped. Boys get raped and men rape men. So we should be like we have to be very careful. So at first we used to think that you should talk only to a girl. Now talk even to a boy. Tell the boy child they should not touch you here and here. It's very important.
Okay. Well, one of the things, Mumah, we're talking about something very important. Like these people, they use candies and other things to give to children. I will tell you very open that a child who has eaten and is full will not go to a neighbor's house to look for food. A child that the parents normally have, they frequently bring these things home. The children are very used to it. One thing that kills too is that we, the parents, should also give an occasion for our children to test these things so that they don't strive for those things. Because I think that if every day you come back home with a pack of biscuits and sweets and give to your children, the children will not be too excited when they see these things outside. And some of the things you need to do is to teach your children how to eat back home and consume what is given home. Like, for example, today, I'm a man. But to be honest with you, I don't eat out of my house. I don't eat in the restaurant because I grew up with a grandmom who would drag my ears for eating outside. It was not like she never wanted us to eat, but she wanted to train us to a point that we think that food back at home is the best food. Now, it is time to teach these children to understand that we can be able to offer them the best more than any other person can do. But when we don't have time to these children, we don't take them out, even once in a while. We don't give them this thing. When they see them, they are very naive and they really want to test them. And before they know it, they fall victim of such circumstances. So I really think that parents too, they should play a role in also looking at the upkeep of the children, making sure that the children have these things back home too.
Right. Okay, Tony, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Now, I wanted to ask this question. Since nowadays we are confronted a lot with rape that happens within the family, it could be a parent, like we said, it could be someone living in the house, it could be the baby's cousin, like we saw in the case of Sierra Leone, it could be someone living in the house. Are there any signs, warning signs that could tell a parent or a guardian that something is happening to this child? I was reading that there are some physical and even behavioral changes that could tell a parent that, something is not right somewhere. I should look a little deeper than what I'm seeing. Are there any signs, Dr. Anita?
Oh, all right.
Oh, well, usually like children, like girl, yes, they might just complain about maybe pain. And one other sign is that they will not want you to touch them, their private parts. Like when you're bathing them, you want to touch them, they might run or something like that. And maybe they start becoming quiet, becoming very reserved or something like that. So especially when it has started affecting them mentally or something like that, yeah. So the signs are not really specific, but they are just like, your child. There's when there's just something off about that child.
Yeah.
Or maybe the child is, or probably the child might not even know that is something bad. So the child just develop maybe one kind of affection towards the person that is living in the house. So those are some of the things. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, Clarisse, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was on the side of the, just like she said, your child, so when you see something that is different about them, you should try to find out what it is. And then on the side of the victims, of the predators, like the perpetrators of the act, like the family members that do those things, there's some family members that actually pay unnecessary attention to the child. You see some people come, like they will carry the child, put the child on their laps, want to kiss the baby, begin to pay attention to those people. Those uncles and your friends that will come to the house and they say, oh, my wife, they carry the child, put the child, give the be careful. Those ones that come and say, oh, this boy is cute, they want to kiss the child. So I think those are unnatural behaviors that you can be like, okay, this person, I should really be careful with this child, this person is my child.
Coming to a point of them living back at home, I really think that most of the times it's always good as a parent to always spend some little time to listen to the type of discussion they make. You understand? And then to watch their movement too. Because it's not because some of the parents, they really do not have time to watch the movements or even maybe secretly listen to what these children they discuss sometimes, especially when they're in their rooms. You understand? Those are most important things that you need to look at. And then when you see, if they have been living back at home, you have a cousin living with their children, if after sometimes you realize that they have been behaving strange, you understand? It is a call for an alarm. Something should actually have, transpired, maybe he must have made advances in the, the relationship is not going to be the same. Because normally they had that cordial relationship between a sister and a brother. But now when the girl child or maybe the boy must have advanced some sort of words, you really realize that their way of behavior and talking is actually going to be different. Those are points now that the parent need to come closer to know if something, because if you just take it to be normal, you might be knowing the reality when it's already too late. You understand? So those are some of the things. That's why we're saying parents should always keep attention towards their children. That's why you need to know your child from the time that the child is small. You need to know the things the child can do and the things the child cannot do. Or for example, imagine that you just come back from work and then the child who used to be very much happy when you come, you open the door and the child is just like, "Mommy, welcome." And then maybe the child turns back immediately and goes maybe like directly to her room or somewhere else. It should be a point that something had happened and you need to insist to know. But because we the parents at times we give time to our businesses, we don't really know until something has happened, and when it happens we start throwing things here and there and then talking about family this thing, oh they have done this in the village. No, it is because we have allowed our responsibility and we are chasing shadows. I think the child should be one of the primordial how can I say things that the parent need to look at. Yeah, sure.
And just to add a bit something, like we should also know how to check our children. Like the girl child as they are growing up, always check the vagina, check the anus, to see if there is any opening there. Yes, that is not normal. Like maybe you know already how it looks, so like, continue checking. And if you have your child start having frequent infections, urinary tract infections, frequent infections, like where is this child getting it from? Like, so it's just to constantly check, and if you notice anything that is off, please make sure that even if you cannot access it on your own, seek help. Try, go to the hospital, the child will be examined, and if there is anything that is not normal, they will tell you, and you can now further investigate it.
Now, I'd love for us to discuss the consequences, the effects of sexual abuse on young children. I'm going to stay with you, Dr. Anita, because I'd like for you to tell us about the effects from a medical standpoint, physically. What are the effects of rape on a young baby?
One of the first things is that, like you said from the study you read, that the children always know those that have abused them, and most of them will know that this thing is not, because sometimes it might be painful for them, so it's a traumatic experience for them, and so they always have what we call post-traumatic disorder, which a child just starts having anxiety, excessive fear, and most of the times, like, the mental health is not really considered too much in our society. Unfortunately, it's not, because most of even those rapists, they have mental disorders that probably started with depression, mild depression, anxiety, and it has gone up to the point where they resort to those kind of things, and they have no feeling even when they are doing it. Like, they see the child crying or bleeding, and they continue until the whole vagina is torn and you cannot even repair it. So that kind of a thing, for somebody to reach that point, you notice that there is something off. So most of those children, they end up having this post-traumatic stress disorder. They have depression, they have anxiety, and they always have problems with sex in future. Like they might just have this morbid fear for it, or they are just so laxed about it, and they go about it anyhow with anybody. And not to talk of the other complications like frequent infections that they'll be having, sexually transmitted infections, HIV. Just imagine your child developing HIV because of rape. It's just, there are just so many of them. But the highest thing that it does to the child is the mental aspect. It makes the child to the child is, you're not even confident about yourself, especially those ones that maybe they're a bit grown up. A 3-month-old baby might just maybe grow up and never even know that the baby was raped, or probably might have some problems at the vagina or something. But somebody that is a bit conscious, as that child grows up, there is always that scar when they are talking about this, it takes a lot of courage even for the child to talk about, to be vocal about it, because you always feel like it's their fault. That's one thing also. Like when you have like these rape apologists that you talk about, like they say that it's the child's fault. That's the worst thing that you can do. Like make somebody that was abused to feel that it's your fault that you were abused. So there's a problem with what we are focusing on. We're not focusing on the people who have a problem. We're focusing on the victims. And we're making them more victims. They are causing more damage to them. And so most of those children, they always have to have like a mental health follow-up for quite some time to help them, to bring them back to normal, and before they will be able to live their lives normally.
Anything to add to that, Clarisse?
I think, the doctor has said it all, She has said it all. Therapy is important, and here especially in Cameroon, people don't believe in therapy, but it's important that it's important for everybody who goes through that kind of thing. Some people, there's some grown-ups that have support systems, like maybe you have your mother, you have your sister, or you have your boyfriend or whoever that is really, there to support you, help you to heal. Not everybody has that opportunity to be able to speak and have people believe them and help them to heal, and then they get back get back on track by themselves. Some people have that possibility, others don't. So let's normalize therapy. It's a normal thing for you to think, I think I'm not thinking straight, I should talk to somebody, And there are therapists in Cameroon, there are therapists everywhere. Just it's about looking, go to the hospital, ask. There are people they can refer you to. So it's important for people to go through that healing process,
Okay. Before we move on to the next subject, I just have one more question quickly. Where can victims find help? As in, the people who are abused, those that who are big enough to talk about it and get help on their own, because there are cases where if your abuser is coming from the place where you're staying, and maybe the other person, some other person or other persons are covering up, you are left to yourself, and you have to find help on your own. Also, the families of children who are abused, they too need help. Where can they find help? Anybody with any ideas?
Well, for me, right, I think such things, especially in situations where they say, let us solve it within the family, I think that child cannot have help within that family, find help within that family. Why? Because anytime that child sees that particular person, what happens is that the memories are always going to be there. And they will always come back. Now, what we can say is that there are centers for this. The centers where the children could be taken to, where they can mold them and bring them to their normal life. You understand? Because and one of the things is they could take them from the environment. I think that change of environment too can be able to do a lot of help. Because when you take them from one town to another, where they stay there and they have some sort of distraction, it brings them and mold them down. I think change of environment is another thing. And then we must also look at where we are sending these children, because at times we send these children to people who will not actually understand their situation. Understanding their situation means that they have to give them some time, to digest what really happened. Like now, if a child has such a case, it doesn't mean that I will just, because I want to make the change of town, I'll just carry the child and send to my aunt who lives somewhere, my sister who lives.
And then they get raped again there.
Yeah, and there are some of them, they might be reaching, and before they are reaching there, all the aunt is welcoming them is work. You do this one, it's like the child is instead a slave. It adds more of those things. You understand? I think I might not be able to cite some of these places where they can go to, but I think that if these parents can make they go to social welfare and other places, they can actually identify some of these centers.
Now, Dr. Anita, the Baptist Convention in Cameroon that you work for actually has a whole department, a whole unit that handles this. So how can victims, how can parents get in touch with you and get the needed help?
Okay, yes, as you said, there is a child abuse department in the Baptist, and all the centers, they have a section of it, and there is somebody there that is working. Like there is even somebody that can handle mental health.
Right.
Yeah, there's somebody that can help the children through the abuse, and there are also doctors there that can help the children with testing and following up if there is any, because immediately a child is abused, it's usually good to when you find out immediately, you seek attention of the medical, because sometimes if we cannot get the culprit, we can just put the child on prophylaxis, maybe for things like HIV. We do tests for chlamydia, gonorrhea, and all those things, and we treat them accordingly. And then the mental health section takes up and to rehabilitate the child until the child is able to continue. So even in Bopi Baptist Hospital, there is a department for child abuse there.
I do believe that there's also a section of that department that handles the legal issues, where the perpetrator has to face the law. They make sure that the perpetrator faces the law.
Actually.
Right.
So they have different departments, and they make sure all of these things are.
So if you're a rape victim, a rape survivor, you need help, you don't know who to talk to, you don't have anyone to go to, please do not feel alone. You can go to any Baptist hospital, wherever you find yourself, and explain to them what your situation is. Have no fear, you're going to be protected, and it's going to be kept as quiet as you want it kept, and they'll take care of you. But if you do not have access to any Baptist center or any hospital you can go to complain, please write us on the diary, okay? Go to Facebook, go to our page, the diary, just send us a message, okay? And we will find help for you. Do not feel like you're alone. If you have a child who is abused, you do not know what to do the same. Reach out to us on the diary, and we will find help for you. We want you to know that you are not alone. Now, before we jump to our next subject, Fatal, we don't have so much time. Before we move to it, very last one. Now, we've talked about parents communicating, we've talked about parents being observant. Are there other things that parents can do to keep their children safe? Just to add, anybody else with any ideas on what parents can do to keep their young ones safe, Clarisse?
Teach your children how to say no.
Okay.
It's very important. Like, teach your children to be comfortable to say no. Like, if somebody wants to do this, the child should be able to say no, I don't want it. You know, teach your children to say no. Besides communicating, talking to them, make it a normal thing. Like, make your child to feel comfortable to speak their minds. Like, if a child does not like this thing, let it be normal. Create the environment for children to feel comfortable saying no. Because in Africa, it's like children don't have the right to speak up. We don't create environment. Many parents, let me not say everybody, a lot of parents don't create the environment for children to be real with their opinions. They make children to lie a lot because you expect them to say this thing. So normalize children speaking their opinions, because when a child grows up to know that can say no, it's going to help them in the future. So that an adult should not just come and do something to you that you don't want, and you just let it because you are afraid to say no. Teach your children to say no.
Right.
And they should actually keep their children occupied. All the children should always have something doing, because it's the idle mind that may keep them. Because if you're leaving home, I believe that if you're leaving home from time to time, you give them something that occupies them too. It distracts them and keeps them away from moving around or maybe visiting places that they don't have to. And you have to be strict also. You have to regulate their going in and out of the house. There are some houses that the children go out at will. The parents do not ask where the child is going to, because you must teach your children to always seek for your opinion before going anywhere. Even it means to a friend's house. But because we are so much, we enjoy just seeing our children, we leave them loose. They go to places even that they're not supposed to go, and these things happen. And when they happen, they are unable to tell us. Whereas if they had told us they're going here, you will be able to know how to restrict them, and whenever you realize they're not there, you can bring them to normal, and then the next time they won't just go anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, Dr. Anita?
One other thing is you should not allow your girl children to sleep in the same room as the boy children.
Right.
No matter what, even as you are educating them, you separate the rooms.
Right.
And if you don't have rooms enough for that your nephew, which is male, look for other options.
Yeah.
There's always another way. Like, if you know that you will be exposing your child, set your priorities.
Yeah.
You will be exposing your child, You look for another way, even if it means that you rent a house for that 25-year-old cousin to stay there, rather than coming to stay in your house. Let's be ready to do that.
Right. Another thing I'm going to add is be careful where you send your kids to for holidays. Or, you know, we call it children on loan. You give your kid to somebody else to stay with them, even if it's a family member. Now, when I was growing up, I noticed that my parents never allowed us to go for holidays when we were young. Never. I was crying like everybody else is going for holidays. Why don't we get to go for holidays? Until we were a certain age, then when we're grown up, say, okay, it's fine, you can go for holidays. Now I understand and I appreciate. And I think parents too should think about that. When your little boy, your little girl, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's really not necessary. You don't know what might happen. Nobody is saying that automatically if they go for holiday, something bad will happen to them. But if you're sending your kids on your own, you don't know what might happen there. You're not there to supervise and watch what's happening. Parents, you have to be careful. It's our responsibility. Those kids, they are precious gifts from God, and we must do our best to keep them safe. Now, let's leave that subject. We're jumping into fatal love. I called it fatal love because calling it abuse was not enough to me. It has gone above abuse. Partners who are killing each other. Unfortunately, in this case, yet again, the women are more of the victims. It's true that women too abuse men. We've discussed this on the show just last week. But this time, I mean, with all the recent cases that I've been hearing about, it's men killing their wives, their fiancés, their girlfriends. What is happening? Why has love become such a terrible thing? Why are we talking about love and people killing? I don't. I just don't get it. What is happening, Clarisse? Why are people killing their partners because they supposedly love them too much? I don't get it.
I just think that it boils down to mental health. You know, many people don't know how to handle emotions. You know, many people don't know how to handle emotions. People don't know how to handle hurt. People don't know how to handle pain. So they go about it the wrong way, and they see, you know, all this. I mean, at the end of the day, I just feel like people should normalize seeking help. Like, if you get to a point where you think that you start having flashes of negative thoughts, seek help. Because before somebody takes a knife to stab or takes a gun to shoot, you go and buy a gun to come and shoot, or you sharpen a knife to stab somebody, it's premeditated. Murder is premeditated. So when you're having all those thoughts, those nasty thoughts, those flashes of I should kill this person and just end it, try to seek help. Because we can never ever stop people from loving. We can, you know, because sometimes in the beginning these things are nice, you see them together, but at one point this person gets tired of this person, she moves on, and this other one is angry, you know. So it just boils down to mental health. So when you get to that point where you start having flashes of negative thoughts, try to seek help. Talk to a doctor, talk to a friend, or avoid the person, you know. Do something to live a normal life, because when you kill somebody, you have ruined your own life. Even if a lot of times, like these recent stories, they kill the people and they kill themselves. Sometimes you kill the person, even if you don't succeed to kill yourself, you will go to jail. So at the end of the day, is that the life you want to live? You know?
It's sad.
So anyway, help yourself.
You choose to look at it. Tony?
Well, Mumah, to be honest with you, it has become, you know, you look at the world, there are wars, people are fighting and killing each other, and the humans who are in love are still fighting and killing each other. What I can let you understand is that it's actually because this word love, some people have taken it as a drama. I mean, as a drama because they don't really understand the meaning of the word, and they don't really put it the way it has to be done. You understand? And they avoid falling in love with somebody more than the person who loves you. That's how I can say it.
How would you know?
Look. As a man, right? As a man, there are certain things you will understand.
Okay.
A woman who really loves you, you will understand from the type of things she does towards you. You understand? There are certain cases that we go an extra mile to do things because we want to win a woman's favor, to love us. Forgetting that no matter how much he loves you for those favors you're doing, there's going to be time that those things will come to an end and she will still go back to her roots. It's just like somebody says that you can be a mother and you keep the child from the father as long as you want. But when that child grows up, that child will still go back to look for the father. That's the same thing. What I am saying is that at a certain point, we do go to do some certain sacrifices which are unnecessary. What do I mean?
Is there anything unnecessary?
No, there are sacrifices which are unnecessary. Why? Because I meet you today, Mumah. You are very beautiful, and I fall in love with you. I really love you. You are not my wife. You're my girlfriend. And if you're my girlfriend, I need to think about what I am doing for you, so that if tomorrow it doesn't work the way we want, we separate our paths without you complaining, I have done this, I have done that. And secondly, don't do them because somebody is not forcing you to, so that tomorrow you take that as a pretext to say, I have overgone this thing. What I can actually say is that we, before getting into a relationship, we need to know what we are going in for. And we must be able to ask ourselves, because if I go out with you for 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years, I can be able to analyze our relationship from that time to the way it is going. And if I start realizing something is happening, it is better we talk about it. But when you realize that, let us not talk about it, everything is going to be fine, it's going to be fine. You only find yourself in a situation that something has held you from the neck and you can no more breathe. All you can do is...
The way you're saying it now, you're making it look like it's easy. Like, okay, you fall in love with somebody, you're like, no, let me do this, let me not do this. Like, the truth is that I believe that everybody should be themselves. When you're in love, be in love. Do things from your heart. If you feel like, okay, maybe I should wash his clothes, you feel like I should cook him food, do it because you feel like it. Nobody has forced you. Now, if the relationship is over, because you're talking about girlfriend, boyfriend, you can still be girlfriend, boyfriend until people get married. And then people leave, and after some time, the lady says that I don't want again. People are married now. After she's girlfriend, I don't want. Now you start getting angry. After we got married, I've done this, I've done that, we have kids, blah blah blah, and then one person feels like killing the other person. I just think that we can never ever know how these things end. People change on us, people grow apart, things happen, life happens, people get sick, there are many things that cause people to fall out of love with each other. Me, I just feel like at the end of the day, nothing is worth killing another person for. And there's no way that we can ever justify it. Like, there's no way you can say that, okay, maybe because you overdid something or you overdo something. Because if you listen to that girl's side of the story, she also tell you all things that she did for the boy, for example. If you are saying that, okay, maybe the boy paid her school fees from this place to this place, the girl will tell you how that she did. Maybe I was staying in his house, I was cleaning the house every day. Maybe I was, stealing from small money from small food from the house, come and give him to eat. Maybe there were other boys that were chatting me, I not did them because I did them. Like, everybody has a story. So at the end of the day, let's not normalize killing. Murder is wrong. So, and it's always premeditated. Let us, when you get to that point of having thoughts of killing somebody, seek help.
Right. And Dr. Nita, what's your take on all this? On this issue of people falling because they supposedly love them.
It's funny and it's sad because sometimes when I look at this, I just feel like Nigerian films has really gotten a really big hold on us. Like this Ramsey Noir, Genevieve drama, and all these things, and we feel like we should act it out in our lives. And the truth is, what most at times I would say we call love, it's not love, it's lust.
And drama. Because
now, the truth is, we know what love is. Love is sacrifice. And once you're sacrificing, you're not expecting anything in return. So truly love is not even easy. So all this thing that we're falling in love, like rising up, it's just drama. To me, it's just drama. Because if you love somebody, you will even be ready to let them go.
Right.
It's going to be painful. But the truth is, if you love somebody, you will want to see that person happy.
Exactly.
Even if that person is not with you. I know this also sounds like a movie, but it's the truth. That's what love is. So the bottom line is, what is really love? Is what I'm feeling for this person. Is it love, or is that I'm just infatuated? I'm obsessed. And those are the characteristics of obsession. We watch them in movies. When somebody is obsessed about you, you know, the person probably doesn't even love your soul or your spirit or you as a person. The person loves what he sees. And he's just imagining that this is, and one thing with men also is that men are possessive. They see women as their possession, like they own this woman. So when you're going, it's like, it's not allowed. You're mine. Like, it's not allowed. So is that really love? Bottom line is, it's not love. So to me, I'm like, if you say that it's because I love this person too much, please tell me something.
There's one thing I want to say from all this we've been talking about. You actually see this one point I got from you, Clarisse, where you said, I don't know, that when you're going in, it should be some sort of sacrifice. I'm sure you did mention of that. It should be some sort of sacrifice. It's now like we live in a world that when somebody gives you a bottle of beer, he nods everywhere. I gave him this beer this day. Somebody gives you this one, the person nods it everywhere. And when things go sour, the person starts saying, oh, I gave you this one, I gave you that one. If you didn't give that person those things, the person would have still been there. But one of the things I want to say is, we will realize that there's always a mechanism which triggers all these things. When a partner sits at the end of the day and says, oh, I can no longer be with them. And at times they give reasons which are not justifiable. For example, you just sit, at times it's very frustrating. In as much as we condemn the act of people who are doing these things, we also need to look at the causes of these things. Now, because at times it's very frustrating. But I'm not for the fact that somebody should kill another person actually because you want to settle scores. But I want us to always put this in mind. Times it's very frustrating to see that you go through, you meet this woman who is nobody, or maybe she is not up to what she wanted, and you've been there to push her through to that end. And then at a certain point, even no matter what goes wrong, I think they always say that marriage is for better, for worse. And you as a woman, standing to tell this man after these years with these kids that it is over between us without any big reasons, or maybe because you have seen somebody somehow very frustrating as well. And we should be able to mind what we say at the end of the day. I will tell you one thing, that it's not all the women are married because they enjoy marriage or because they live there. At a certain times when they turn around, the next thing they look at is their kids. You understand? I am forced to stay here because of the child. Now when you come with this reason which triggers and somebody is killed at the end of the day, it's no more one person who is killed. There are a lot of people who are killed, maybe psychologically. So one of the things I can be able to call our attention is that we should think about this word love to a very bigger point. How it starts. What is... At a certain point you just get to, I love you, you love me, yes, let us live together. After all, we are in love, right? But one of the things we don't care to know is what is our own point about this relationship? What are her wants? What are the things she doesn't want? Some of them get broken at the end of the day, or one cannot keep up because the person realizes that what I thought about this love is not what is supposed to be there. And some of these things at times is also about talking to each other, effective communication, like we say. Immediately when you see something is wrong, I think need to talk and seek for advice is also very important. At times we do act because I think somebody who killed another person, I think if you had been able to seek advice from an elderly, the elderly person is never going to tell you to kill that person.
Right. Now there's something I'd like to know, to learn about. Does a person who has never been abusive just wake up one day and kill somebody?
No.
So I did not sign that.
Well,
warn you that.
Anyway, there's something they call depression. I think not so long. There's depression. There's psychosis. There are a lot of those. There's some people that internalize a lot. There's some people that don't talk. So something is happening. They just keep it. And then they don't know how. Actually, men. I know that men have ego a lot. So men, for example, for us women, it's normal for women to cry about their issues with their men. But it's not normal for men to cry about their issues with their women. So men want to show I'm the man, my wife treats me like a king, blah blah blah. You don't want your friends to know that you're actually dealing with these kind of things in the house. You know, unhappiness, blah blah blah. So many men don't even have opportunities to vent. For us women, it's normal. If your boyfriend annoys you, you call your girlfriend, you talk, you rant. You know, you end. You feel better. many men anyway, not all, but many men don't do that. They don't talk. So that's why I think in many cases we hear of men who, I mean, men are the ones who are killing. It's true that there are cases of women killing, but most of the cases is men that kill. And I think it's because they get to that point just because they internalize a lot. Women, if we want to talk about abuse, emotional, physical, mental, it's women that go through it the most in marriages. But women are the least people that take knives or guns to shoot their spouses. It's men that do it the most. Why? Because I think men internalize a lot. They don't talk. We women talk. You go and meet your mother, you cry. You carry your children, if you pack your things, go to your father's house and cry. Your husband will come and beg you, blah, blah, blah. You talk. So when every time you talk, you're letting it out, you're feeling better. But the man is not talking. He's just sitting there and shocking it. The woman is, and then when you get to that point, for me, I think before you get to that point of wanting to kill, you have had flashes of dark thoughts in your head. You have had, you know, everything. You have had it to a point where you're like, I think I've had enough. When you sense yourself going to that direction, seek help. If you don't want to talk to your friend because you're ashamed, go to a therapist. There are even online therapists these days. There you can, some people that can talk that you don't even know. Vents, you know, vents. Seek help. Don't sit and be shocking that I'm a man, and then you get to a point where you do something that you never ever could have imagined that you would do. You know, yeah.
Dr. Nita, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I sincerely, if you want to go from statistics and you want to, the problem is just that we don't collect the data here to find out why and all the situations that are surrounding. But if you want to read from other countries, you notice that, like Clarisse said, mostly they are men that kill the women, and usually when women want to kill men, it's usually in self-defense. Like when there's violence and then she maybe does something, then it's difficult to find a woman intentionally, but it happens. So the problem now is men actually, they cannot deal with as much emotional pain as women. Scientifically, biologically, women are stronger than men. Physically, men might be stronger. Emotionally, women are stronger. And I think one of the reasons is that when a woman, first of all, is coming into a relationship, he always sees the man also like, this man has the potential to hurt me. This man has a potential to do something bad to me. So she already comes prepared. But usually men, they are not really, most of them, they already know like, if this relationship has to end, maybe it will probably be on my terms. Yeah, so now it just becomes like a shock that she's leaving me. And she's not leaving me to go and stay quiet. She's leaving me to go to another man. So what do I not have that other man has? You see that I don't have money. See, ego comes in, a lot of things comes in. And so one thing that I want to advise also women is that we should go easy on them. Don't dump a guy on a text. You are in a relationship with somebody.
No, she's a good point.
It's a good point. She got a point. But if you now go to I was going to say rompre in French. If you now go to break up with him in person and he kills you.
No. Person, like there is a way to do it.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm a specialist in breakup. There is a way that you can talk to somebody and the person will see reasons with you that this thing is not working.
The person has to be reasonable to reason with you.
But there are some
Yes.
There are some ways that a girl can break up with you. That
it will not
I
hurt
see
you.
it in movies like
I don't know whether boys break up with girls.
You
that make girls want to hang.
No, that's why we're saying that now. Women are stronger. Yes, it's a fact. No, if you are a woman out there, you think that you're not strong, you are strong. There's more that you can take than a man cannot take. So we are getting risk groups like coronavirus. You see, the old people are at risk of having severe illnesses. So we take care of those people more. So these are the risk groups. These are people that are prone to cause this, to do this. So we should take care of those people more. So just have it in mind that this man like this, if I do this thing, he can kill me. So for my safety, let me do it in a way that even if it's to call an elder and put the person and say that, please, let's talk about this issue.
So women should permanently...
No. Mama, I want to bring a point. No, the point... Dr. Anita said something. But I want
give me a second. Give me a second. It's so ironical, you know, that it is true, but it is ironical that men cannot take half of what they dish out. Now, because I've asked myself the question: if women killed men who cheated on them, then
all of them would die.
But if a man cheats on you, if he has a kid outside, he expects you to take that kid into your home and raise the child, and society expects you to forgive that man. But the man cannot take the fact that his wife cheated on him, and they want us to accept.
It's like it's normal.
It's not,
Normalize it.
It is not right.
I wanted to get to the point of, before coming to what you've said, the point where she says they should not take the breakup should not be like a phone call. Look, like he actually said, we look at, when they're looking at the point, we look at the chances of reducing that point. You understand? The chances of the risk, we try to reduce them. For example, you've been going out with this guy, you guys have been going out for a very long time. No matter how much hot-tempered he is, the way you address him at that particular point will not make his temper to be at a certain point. For example, you've been going out with him, you just come one day and you say, you see Joe, for this while we've been together, I thought we could do this, but you see, after some reflection, this and these things had made me that I cannot be able to. You just say, Joe, it is over between you and I can no more take all these things. Look, that means you have pressed the spoil button before even going to the top.
I don't know if it's so much about how we do it.
It's about the way in which you do it.
What we are doing, what you are saying is, what your doctor is saying is that you are trying to put the burden of taking care of the man on the woman.
No,
that's what you are saying. You know there are reasons.
Let me tell you one thing.
This is what I want to say. This is what I want to say. The men should also be responsible.
We're not refusing.
Know that I am this kind of person. So take care of your mental health. For me, men, take care of your mental health. Don't be putting a burden on the woman. Oh, the woman should, when she's breaking up, when you want to break up the woman, do you take it easy? When the men want to do that, do they take it easy?
Okay, I don't know.
It's about emotion.
Look, madam,
and a lot of times,
Clarisse,
this thing is both sides.
We're not refusing.
You want to see the woman to... Something should have triggered the woman to come and say, I want to break up with you. Sometimes it's not even because she's cheating. Maybe you have been beating her and she has been taking it. And she like the case in America, the recent case in America, the Takam case, and you know, after investigation, I realized that woman was going to abuse. The man was beating her in the house, and it was even her boss that noticed that she was being beaten and reported to the police, and that's how the divorce came about. Before she even got into another relationship, and the man could not take it and decided to come and kill her. So you're sitting there, you're going through all this stress, you're going through all this pain in the house, and then you're just there because I'm a wife. A woman burst out as well. She comes and she's like, it's over, I don't want it. What happened before she came and she burst out, So my own problem is this here. Let's leave this in a risk factor. All of us everybody's an adults.
No. We're not refusing that.
Are equal.
Look, let me tell you.
When it comes to mental health, just the way the woman is taking care of her mental health, the way she's calling her mother, calling her sister to encourage her, men too should look for support systems. If it is your friend, look for your best friend, look for your father. If you don't have a father, look for somebody. Talk to a therapist. Take care of your mental health. Let's not normalize this thing of men thinking that the woman she should have send me a text. She should have. Why did you make her to reach that point where she even had to want to break up with you? What did you do? So take responsibility. Take care of your mental health. Like speak to a therapist. Do something. Don't be putting the burden on the woman.
In as much as we are looking at this issue, we have to tackle it from all points.
Yeah.
And each and everyone has his or her way of tackling it. We are not putting a blame on the women. But to be honest with you, I will tell you that a woman, when it comes to relationship, a woman can better manage a relationship than a man does.
True.
Just like a family. If the woman of the family does not make that family is nothing.
Their responsibility.
Look, when did you hear? You heard that men are just like overgrown babies. It's just like a child in the house you have. At times they get up, they're doing things.
Overgrown babies that stab and kill you.
We are talking at the point of these particular issues that comes, right? Instead of going out like she says, he should be able to take care of his mental case. There is a way of approaching. If you realize he's a madman, there's a way of approaching him now. you approach him in a way, because there are certain things like some of these animals, especially when if you're going around a horse, what do? You start make like you want to get friendly with it before you ever touch it, right? Because if you just go into it, what happens? The thing is going to push you off, and that's exactly what happens here. What we are saying is that the way of going about these things, I did not say a man should kill somebody for any reason, but then.
Don't want to order what you want done. If you don't want to,
I didn't say anybody should go and kill another person. I'm going to
get on this show too.
Yes.
I was just saying something. Yeah, I was just talking like it was a bygone.
Yeah.
Like, that's not like the main issue that I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
Yes. But I want to say something that Clarisse brought up and said men and women are equal. I know we're talking about gender equality and all that, but this is the way that I see it. I don't see it as equality. I see it as equity. So equality is different. It's like we're at the same level.
No, that's not what it is.
No, I'm just saying the way that
from your standpoint. Okay.
Yes. It's like we are at the same level about everything. No, a man and a woman are not at the same level about everything. But there is always something that one has that another doesn't have.
True.
That's what the Bible says, that if we be the help meet, not the help mate. They are not mates. There is the help meet for his need. So he has a particular need that is only Eve that can meet it.
Yeah.
And if somebody has that need, you cannot expect him to meet that need. Meanwhile, they have brought you as the help to meet that need. So that's why I'm seeing it like it's not about that you people are the same. No. Even physiologically, we are not the same. Yes, but you see there is a complementing in our physiology. Like you see the way God has, it's just complements. Like there is no way that you see that there is a, I don't want to go to.
Let me clarify my statement. Because Doc has brought it up. You know, so let me clarify this. When we talk about gender equality is not gender roles. So a man is not a woman. We are not saying that a man should do what a woman does or a woman should do what a man does. Gender equality, what we are saying is that let the woman be at her full potential, just as a man should be at her full potential. Don't suppress a woman because she's a woman. That's what gender equality is about. It's not about gender roles. It's not about you being the one that, okay, today if I cook, you go cook. That's not gender equality. No. So I just wanted to clarify that because of who misquotes the whole thing.
No, we didn't misquote the whole thing.
That's not the way.
Maybe you were getting it from a different point of view. You understand? What we're actually saying is that before a man is going, there are points that there are really situations that triggers this thing. But all I can say for once is that when you are going in for a relationship, take it as if it is business. When I say business,
is that not dangerous?
No, please listen to my point. Listen to my point.
Yes, finish.
When I say take it like business, is like you can make interest and you can still not make that interest. It's just like you can still make with her till the end and you still could not make with her till the end. What means that you prepare your mind that if it goes on well, I keep to it. And if it doesn't go on well, I will actually carry my things and I stay by yes, you understand? But if you are just going in because it has started today and you're put in mind, you don't look at certain things that are going wrong and you think it's going to end that way, then at the end of the day you will still kill somebody. Because you will be thinking of a different thing, meanwhile you are doing the opposite of what is supposed to be done.
Guys, at the end of the day, I think the goal, everyone's goal is that we don't have a repeat of the situations, nasty, sad. It's a regrettable. Think about the kids who now have no father, no mother because their parents have killed each other. Imagine growing up with that trauma. So we don't want a repeat of the situations. What can we learn? They are terrible situations, but there are lessons to be learned from them. Let's start with girls. What can girls in particular learn from this situation? Clarisse?
I think that, you know, at the end of the day, you know, one thing we can learn is, you know, the people that when you see red flags about somebody you're getting married to, pay attention to red flags. If there are things you can deal with, okay. If it's something you cannot deal with, then don't get into it. So, for example, some of these cases, a lot of them, if you want to check out the history, see that maybe the man was abusive. Like he had shown, you know, threats of that I can beat you up. Like he used to beat you up. I thought it was normal. You know, so I mean, let's for girls, you know, when you see something that you cannot take, just back off. I mean, there's nothing worth, you know, taking your life for. There's no marriage that is worth your life. So if it's more than you, kindly peacefully exit. And another thing I'd like to say is that let's this selfishness in relationships should stop, because at the end of the day, all of this is a product of selfishness. The man is being selfish, the woman is being selfish. Sometimes you want to divorce, you want to take everything that the man has. Sometimes the man wants to make sure that, oh, she's my wife, I own her, nobody else can have her. So, you know, like doctor said, love is not selfish. You cannot love somebody and you're selfish. So I think, you know, people should, you know, really work on themselves individually. Like work on yourself, constantly work on yourself, because you know your triggers, you know your weak points. Work on it to be a better person, because you cannot be in a relationship with somebody if you have not dealt with your issues. Like if you are not aware that, okay, I'm this kind of person and I have to be like this to be with this person. So let's work on ourselves, so together we can complement each other instead of, you know, killing each other.
Right. Tony, lessons. I'll see, reading on social media, people saying, if you're not going to date a man or you don't want to marry a man, don't take his money, do not allow him invest in you. Is that something women should learn?
At a certain point I will say yes, at a certain point I will say no, because at a certain point these men, they do it out of goodwill. But there are certain times that you as a woman, when you realize the man is doing this because he loves you, it is more need for you to say no, especially when you know you're not going to spend your lifetime with him. Because actually, you realize he's doing this sacrifice, not actually because he loves you as a sister or somebody he wants to help. He's actually doing this because he has interest in you. Why go in to take these things? One of the things is too, is because we, the women, the women out there wants to live a life which is not, they don't want to mold something at their level.
Some women,
that's why. Some women, they don't want to mold something based on their level. It means that for her, she wants to reach up, but she thinks that this is the person who could take me up. And knowing well fully that this man, as I'm going up with him the stairs, he's not going to enter the room, it's better you don't go up with him. Because in as much as he will not enter the room with you, he will be waiting for you at the door. And the next thing is that he's going to set his revenge on you. One of the things is that we should go in for marriage or for a relationship when we are fully convinced that no matter all odds, we can be able to go with these people. And when something goes wrong, we should make sure that we seek concern of the families. I think they can be able to stop situations as this.
Dr. Nita, it's important for women to empower themselves.
Very important.
Don't you think?
I think so. But what I want to say, like, because I've been thinking a lot about this. My head is like thinking a lot about so many things, factors. That's why I cannot even stand on one thing and say, okay, women, break up with them nicely, because you will break up nicely, the person will still kill you. You say women shout and run and go and call somebody, they will find way and still come and kill you. So the bottom line is, like, who are we personally? Like, let's look at our moral standards. Like, who are we? Who do we say we are? There are people out there that call themselves Christians. There are people that call themselves Muslims. Let's put it like that. But if you say that you're a Christian, what are you showing? Like, what is your moral standard? I don't know, because the bottom line is that we should become serious about some of these things. There are some of these things that if you miss a step, you will discover that many things will just shatter. Like, if at the beginning the relationship, the foundation of that relationship was not the right one, you will discover that there is nothing that can be done. That relationship is doomed to fail. And the failure can be fatal and can be non-fatal. So bottom line is, before we want to make some of these decisions in life, we should not be careless. We should be very intentional. Before you want to get into a relationship with somebody, be intentional about it. Think about it. Look at that person. And material things is not all what matters. Like, and if you like the material things, work for it. As a woman,
empower yourself.
Yes, work for it. Let it not be that it is a man Like sincerely, even if that man is not your husband, don't allow him to buy you things. He's buying you things
For what, my sister?
Some girls will be crying now.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you're very right, guys. I'm sorry, unfortunately, we don't have any more time. We have to go. Thank you all so much. And for those women who are watching us, who are facing abuse, who feel like they're trapped, they don't know what to do. If you need help, like we told you since last week on the show, feel free to contact us. We have been contacted by some women, and they are getting help, or we are still reaching out to more. So if you need help, please do not hesitate. Okay, just go to Facebook, go to the diary, just write us a message. It's very private. You have nothing to worry about, and we'll have help coming your way. Guys, thank you again so much. Just before we go, FX, if you can give me just 1 minute. Clarisse Ndinge, I was saying she's a media personality. She presents her own show, Beta Topo. How can people watch your show?
All right, so just check out, Beta Topo is on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Just type Beta Topo, BETATORPOH.
Right, and she talks with the hottest stars. All the big stars are her guests on the show. Yeah, and in Pidgin too, so it's very unique. And also, she's a blogger. You can go to betterthings.com to catch up. I always get my latest gist on your on your blog, so feel free to contact her. You can also write to her on Facebook. Her name is Clarisse Ndinge on Facebook. Feel free to talk to her. And Tony, Tony is a movie man. He's always in search of new talent for his movies. He has a big production coming. But the last movie you did, which is doing really great, Tony. How can people get that movie? First of all, what's the name of that movie?
The title of the movie is Hard to Forgive.
Hard to Forgive.
Yeah,
you see, that is so different today.
Hard to Forgive. Yeah, it's a very wonderful one because it teaches us how we could be able. We know forgiveness at a certain point they preach we should do it, but at certain times we should need to think about these acts before we bring about such issues. I want to, anyone who is out there can always reach us and write to us on Facebook, Peacock Movies Production. Okay. And because we have Peacock. PEA.
Spell it out just so they don't make a mistake.
Yeah,
they don't go to the wrong Peacock.
Yeah, Peacock Movies Production. And the person can write to us. If you're anywhere you want to join the film industry, we can always help you to join. Right. Because next we are going to be having our next movie, which is coming up next month, entitled Suzanne. And for those who want to be part of this, they code.
Right. And Dr. Anita, we are always so grateful to you and the Baptist Convention. You're with the Mbopi Baptist Hospital. They always give you time because you're supposed to be at work right now. But they give her permission to come here and to share with us. We are very grateful. Now, people can also come to the Baptist. It's a great hospital here in Mbopi. And if they have issues, they can also see you, Dr. Anita.
Definitely.
And they can contact you on social media as well.
Yes.
Your name on Facebook is?
I need Ngutibi.
Okay, Ngutibi. I'll just go to the Baptist Hospital in
Well,
that's it. Thank you all so much for your kind attention. Stay safe, okay? We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
That was nice.